everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Wealth Corner slash Krissy and Friends. Now, this is the second episode, and I have a special guest here with me, Monique. So, Monique and I have been friends since 2007, 8 there. And we also went Green Street together, but she doesn't remember, but we've been locked in. So, under duress, I have her here to answer a couple questions, and y'all can get to know a little bit about her and her mindset and everything. So happy to have you on. Happy to have you on, and let's get started.
Great.
The first question I have for you: do you think financial freedom is realistic in Grenada, or do you think it's just a buzzword?
In Grenada, I would probably say it's a buzzword for the average Grenadian, based on just salaries and the expenses, because living expenses, personal expenses, all these things, they're going up, and salaries are just stagnant. So it's so difficult to, even if you want to put aside and you want to save for the future and stuff, when all of these expenses are going up and your salary isn't going up, there's not much to take away from what you're making,
Right.
you know. And even if you have kids as well, it just makes everything 10 times worse. You want to buy a house, mortgage, all of that has to come out from this one salary. So maybe as an average Grenadian, if you want to be financially free or so, you definitely had to hustle hard, like 2-3 jobs, you know, to cover your costs outside of just your regular, you know.
Fair point. And like for me, like when I speak to a lot of people, year after year, you know, like you get promotion, how was the salary increase going? And it's like
Nothing.
the same people like fight for like 3%, and like in other countries that's just like a norm. Like it's compulsory by the time like another year passes and they get a little 3%. Meanwhile, 10 years, nothing much.
And where I work, I see prices going up week after week after week after week, and it's just, you know, so there's that.
And I do agree with. I share the same sentiment on hustling hard.
Yeah, definitely had a hustle. You know,
like 9 to 5 versus 5 to 9. If you were to just rely on, you know, your salary,
it
then,
won't work.
Yeah, definitely. For a lot of people, it won't work. And I think too, maybe kind of aligning yourself with the people who have gained financial freedom, that might help. But that in itself is hard in Grenada because people are really like, it's not showy.
Yeah,
so
and sometimes they like to gatekeep, you know.
Exactly.
So
Fair point. So
how do we make it?
it's tough, but hopefully, like for me, I like to see, you know, the glasses half full. So like, what are you doing to make a difference? Like, what are you doing after you clock out, stuff like that. So it's just things to talk about, and it's never easy, but it's doable. Like the reality is that it's not easy, but
It's not.
hopefully, you know, more people feel like they could achieve more. So the next question is, do you think that social media has helped or hurt how we view wealth?
I would say both. It has helped in the sense that financial information and stuff, they're more open about it, they're more transparent. So you could go on social media and you could hear investors and all sorts of people talking about their journeys and, you know, all of those things throughout life. I would say that it has hurt how we view wealth, especially the younger generation, because they just soak up everything that they see on social media, and they kind of get this false perception of what wealth is, and then they go out of their way to go on these trips and buy houses and cars and all of these things, and they don't see what the wealthy person would have had to do
Yes.
to get to that point. So, they don't see the hard work, they don't see the privilege, they don't see any of those things, but they just see, okay, quick money,
Yeah.
And so they start doing all sorts of things to get quick money, and then it just goes downhill from here. So, pros and cons to everything, I guess.
It's definitely a double-edged sword because, like, when we hang out in Grenada, you see older people lying with young people, and everything is like social media has made everything so connected. It's like because you lie with older folks or because you lie with younger folks, you might think y'all are on the same level. So a lot of these young kids are thinking like even like a 6-year difference. Y'all are thinking like y'all would have the same net worth as someone who is 6, 7, 8 years ahead of you, and it doesn't work that way. Because for me, if I were to look back on like 24, my net worth is nowhere compared to where it is now. And I may have 24-year-old friends, 25-year-old friends, and they might think they should be there. And the reality is like, no. So it's natural for you to want to think, you should be at a certain place. And obviously social media kind of presents that to us. But the reality is that you have to be realistic, honestly. So, Monique, what's one lesson that you've learned the hard way about money or life in general?
One lesson is there is absolutely no perfect time to start. Like, if you wait for the perfect time, you will never start. Like, I have learned that the hard way over and over and over.
Clock it. You've had a particular experience or?
Just in general, certain things you're like, okay, I'll wait until I get to this point, or I'll wait until I save X amount of money or things like that. And it's just like, sometimes you say, okay, I'll wait until I save $5,000, and then next week something happened and you had to spend $3,000 until the $5,000 and you just get set back.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's no perfect time. If you can't start.
I really do like that answer, and it really transcends just not only about money or just like relational life building, things like that. It really is like those things basically. So Monique, how do you define having enough?
I think having enough depends on what I want in the moment. So for now, I have a lot of things that I'm working on, goals that I'm trying to achieve. So right now, having enough is just me being able to achieve those goals in an environment that allows me to do so peacefully, a roof over my head, food, things like that. A little enjoyment here and there, but that's what's enough for me right now.
So the more you have, in a sense, that is comfortable enough for you, the less anxious and less emotions would go into all of those feelings where you lack.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just building blocks in a sense.
Yeah, and if you ask me what having enough means 2 years from now, it'll be a totally different answer that I'm giving you.
That's true. Now, when you think about wealth, what comes to mind first? Money, peace, or freedom?
Okay, so if you had asked me this in my younger years, I would have said money right off the bat. Because, you're young and they say, oh, this person wealthy, this person rich. And the first thing you think about is money. But as I've gotten older, as I've grown, they're all connected to me right now. So there's no one word that flashes across my mind when you mention wealth. It's all connected. There isn't one without the other. For me, I would say.
That's good, because even like when you think about health, if you don't have health, then you don't have wealth.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, because you got all the money in the world and you're sick, and then what?
That becomes your only focus.
Yeah.
Health and soul.
So I don't think there's just one word.
When I was sick 2 weeks ago, my face was swollen. Like, I started to think about like, wow, everything I'm invested in just kind of gone to waste.
You save all this money.
Yeah, so that's I'm having all of these thoughts when I'm sick. I'm like, wow. And it's not to say like I don't know, but it often is like a reality check, Never be too invested in one particular thing, because there's so many different facets to pay attention to. I think it's all about balance at the end of the day, and if you pour into one, you definitely neglect the others. So
you need to be wealthy holistically.
Amen. If you could give your 18-year-old self one financial tip, what would it be?
I think it's the same thing from earlier. Just start. Start saving. Start doing your little investments. Start your business that you want to start, that you wanted to start. Just start.
Start with what you have.
Start with what you have.
So what does success look like to you right now in this season of life?
It's just me being functional and being aligned with what matters to me right now. So I want to be making progress, meaningful progress, being proud of myself and building something for myself, all while living my life. Like, not just, okay, this is what I want to do, and you just forget about.
And she lives her life with it.
I try.
Good balance.
As much as I can. But that is what it means to me right now. And again, 5 years from now, success will be a very different definition.
I'll come back and interview you.
You know what I feel about that, but okay, I will try. I will try to make an appearance. But yes, that's what success is for me right now.
And it really is just having that clarity that you have right now, you know, doing what you can every day, showing up for yourself every day to get something done, feeling closer to your intended goal too. And the thing is, like, you feel so good about it, as opposed to just coming home and sitting down every day, just doing nothing and then complaining about life, as opposed to just doing tiny incremental things that make the difference and make you feel like you're contributing to something internally, externally, you know, whatever service that you provide or whatever product, you're doing something in the world that's meaningful at the end of the day. So yeah, I agree. So last but not least, if you could be any age for the rest of your life, which would you choose?
Can I do like a age range, or like I just have to choose an age? 35.
Okay.
I feel like at 35 we've gone through life. We've experienced a lot of things. We've made mistakes. We at this point we're kind of grounded. You know, we know where we're heading. We know what we want from this life. We know we want to build a family. We know we want to start a business. We know. And I feel like that's a good age. You know, we're not fully old age yet, so
35 years young.
35 years young, so we can still be full of life. You know, although there's older people that's full of life, but you know, sometimes you get older, you start getting more tired, things like that. I feel like 35 is a good time to like just live for the rest of my life.
It's actually kind of middle age when you think about life expectancy too.
Yeah, because it's like most people like 60, 65, 70, and that's it. So I feel like that's a good time.
Okay.
A good age.
Right. I like that age too. I agree with you. I have nothing additional to add to that. I think it's right in the middle. Yeah. Well, Monique, thank you for being on my channel. I hope to have you here sooner rather than later, for sure. Whether that's by force or by you choosing to come on.
She dragged me here.
I definitely am happy to have you here. So that's it until next time. See you in the next episode, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all of the above. Bye!